If I could go back in time, I would. It was the day we made a terrible mistake. A mistake that changed everything. I replay it in my head every night. I see my husband David's face, smiling at me over his coffee. I see my son Noah, playing with his toy cars on the rug. They were so happy. We thought we were doing the right thing. After the fire, after we lost everything, we had nowhere else to go. My cousin Leo called. He said we could stay with him. It sounded perfect. A quiet place to heal. But some places don't let you start over. Some places just want to pull you under. I should have listened to the little voice in my head, but I ignored it. Now I sit in the quiet of a new room, in a new town, and I listen. I watch my son, Noah. He doesn't talk much anymore. He just stares. David is gone. The house took him. And sometimes, late at night, I think I can hear him. The drive felt like it would never end. We left the city behind. Soon there was only green. The sky turned gray. Noah was quiet in the back seat. He usually loved car rides, but today, he just stared out the window. David tried to make him smile, but Noah didn't even look at him. A strange coldness started to creep into the car. "Are we almost there?" I asked David. The farther we drove, the more nervous I became. The houses grew farther and farther apart. Then there were no houses at all, just endless fields of dry corn stalks that rattled in the wind. David looked at the map on his phone. "According to this, we're close," he said. The road became a dirt track. It felt like we were driving into a tunnel with no end. "I don't like it here," Noah whispered. "It's okay, sweetie," I said, trying to sound comforting. But my words sounded hollow. Finally, we saw it. A house. It looked hungry. As David got out of the car, an old man appeared. He had a big, fluffy white dog with him. "You folks aren't planning on staying there, are you?" His voice was raspy. "That place ain't right. Hasn't been right for a long, long time." David gave him a polite smile. "We're just visiting family," he explained. The old man just shook his head slowly. The man introduced himself as Mr. Peterson. He lived down the road, he said. "People say it's haunted. People who lived there before. They didn't stay long. Said they heard things. Noises in the walls. Said the house was alive." His dog started to whine. It pulled on its leash, trying to get away from the house. David laughed nervously. "Haunted? I think we'll be okay, sir." Mr. Peterson wasn't laughing. "You should believe," he said. "That house, it takes things. It feeds on sadness." We walked toward the front door of the house, toward the darkness waiting inside. A warning we chose to ignore. The front door creaked open before we even knocked. A man stood there. It was Leo. I barely recognized him. He didn't smile. He just stared at us. "Sofia," he said. His voice was flat. "You came." He stepped aside to let us in. The air inside the house was cold and damp. It smelled like dust and decay. The hallway was dark. The inside of the house was even worse than the outside. Leo didn't seem to notice the mess. "You can have the rooms at the top of the stairs," he said. "I stay in the back." David tried to make conversation. "It's a big place, Leo," he said. "Must be a lot of work to keep up." Leo just shrugged. "The house does what it wants," he mumbled. We carried our bags up the creaking stairs. "Something's not right here, Soph." That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in the strange bed, just listening to the sounds of the house. It wasn't a quiet house. It groaned and creaked. But there were other sounds, too. I heard scratching noises coming from inside the walls. They were louder now. I nudged David. "Do you hear that?" I whispered. "It's just the pipes," he said. But his voice was tight. The scratching moved. Then I heard the whispers. They were faint, like the rustling of leaves. They seemed to come from all around us. I couldn't make out any words. It was just a soft, hissing murmur. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding in my chest. David sat up too. We looked at each other in the darkness. The whispering grew a little louder, then faded away. The house fell silent again. I looked over at Noah on his cot. He was fast asleep. I didn't want him to be scared. The next day was a nightmare. Noah wouldn't speak. He wouldn't eat. He just sat in a chair in the corner of the room, staring at the wall. His eyes were empty. He didn't look like my son anymore. He looked like a little ghost. "We have to leave. We have to get him out of this house. Now." David agreed. We didn't even bother to pack our bags. We just grabbed Noah and ran down the stairs. Leo was nowhere to be seen. We didn't care. We just wanted to get away. We had to escape. We reached the front door. David grabbed the handle and turned it. Nothing happened. He turned it again, harder this time. The door was locked. It stuck. We were trapped. The house wouldn't let us leave. I stood frozen at the top of the basement stairs. My mind was screaming David's name, but no sound came out. The silence from below was more terrifying than any scream. It was a hungry, final silence. Noah pulled on my hand, his little face pale and blank. I knew I couldn't go down there. Whatever had taken David was waiting in the dark. I slammed the heavy basement door shut and slid the bolt across. It wouldn't hold it for long, I knew, but I had to do something. I had to get Noah out. We were alone now. I was his only protector. My fear was a cold, hard knot in my stomach, but my love for my son was stronger. We ran back upstairs. The scratching in the walls was louder now, more frantic. It was everywhere. It sounded like hundreds of rats, but it was deeper, heavier. I could hear whispers weaving through the scratching. They were clearer now. They were saying my name, Sofia, Sofia. It was a chorus of desperate, ghostly voices. I covered Noah's ears and pulled him close. The shadows in the corners of the room seemed to deepen and stretch. I landed with a painful thud, the wind knocked out of me. For a second, the world went black. Then I heard Noah crying. It was the first sound he had made in what felt like forever. It was a beautiful sound. It brought me back. I pushed myself up, ignoring the sharp pain in my ankle. Noah was on the grass a few feet away, shaken but unhurt. I crawled to him and pulled him into my arms. "It's okay, baby. Mommy's here. We're out." We were out of the house, but we weren't safe yet. I could feel the house watching us. I could feel its anger. I looked up at the broken window. The pale faces were still there, pressed against the opening. Their eyes were full of hate. The whispers grew into a roar that I could hear even outside. "You can't leave. You belong to us now." The entire house seemed to groan. a low guttural sound that vibrated through the ground. I knew we had to run. We had to get as far away as possible. The fire was mesmerizing. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. The flames reached high into the sky, painting the clouds orange and red. The house that had tried to swallow us was being destroyed. It was being purified. I held Noah tight, his face buried in my shoulder. He didn't need to see this. He didn't need any more nightmares. Soon, we heard sirens in the distance. Mr. Peterson must have seen the fire and called for help. The police and the fire department arrived. They asked me questions. I told them there was an accident, a gas leak, a fire. I told them David was inside. I cried. It wasn't hard to pretend. My tears were real. They took us to a hospital in the next town. They treated my ankle. They gave Noah a warm blanket and a cup of hot chocolate. A kind woman from social services found us a room in a small, clean motel. For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe it was over.